Governments deny it. Militaries deny it. Even the mainstream media denies it. But they are here, and they've been here for a very long time. The Mutual UFO Network has been on the front lines uncovering the truth since 1969. And now we're sharing that truth with you. Welcome to MUFON What's Up with your hosts, Katie Page, Christopher DePerno, and Tara Diulis. Exclusively on the KGRA Digital Broadcasting Network. Wondering what's up? So are we.
What's up, everybody? It is another Tuesday night. I don't know where the time's going, but man, these weeks are flying by. You are listening to MUFON What's Up Radio, the show that says discovery starts with curiosity and curiosity starts with MUFON. Brought to you by KGRADB.com. As always, we're endorsed by MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network, always asking that all-important question, are we alone in the universe? I am your host, Katie Page, the Colorado State Director. Tonight, we have a fantastic guest. We have Sam Maranto. He is the State Director of Illinois, and I can't wait to speak with Sam a little later on in the show. A couple quick announcements. Again, I wanted to mention that Contact in the Desert is back. It is back live and in person, June 2nd through the 4th. It's held in Indian Wells, California, and there's only 8 days left to get those early bird tickets. So go to contactinthedesert.com and make sure you snag those good prices before they start going up. Also, there's another great event happening in Roswell, New Mexico. It's the UFO Expo. That's going to be held March 10th, 11th, and 12th. KGRA will be there with a booth, and it'll be a great time and a lot of films and panels. And so I hope to see you guys out there in Roswell. I would like to bring in my co-hosts. We have Chris DePerno, State Director out of New York, Jerry and Jenna. How you doing, Chris?
Wonderful, man. That's going to be a great show tonight with Sam Maranto. What?
Yes, it sure is.
No, you can't use my phone. Now, you can't make a long-distance call. Down for Centauri? Good luck with that one. Anyways, we're going to have a great show tonight. Sam Maranto is an expert when it comes to mass sightings. He's done some incredible work. I don't think there's a week that goes by I haven't talked to Sam. And I consider him probably one of the top ufologists in the United States. And he's going to share a lot of good stuff with us tonight.
Right. We're lucky to have him on the show. Let's bring in Tara Diulis as well. You also see Tara on Sky Tour Live with Mark D'Antonio right here on KGRA. How you doing, Tara?
Hi, what's up, you guys?
Good
to see you. What's up? What's up? Oh, so glad to be here, and I can't wait to talk to Sam. I haven't had the pleasure of getting the chance to hear him talk or meet him before, so this is really exciting for me. So, hey, I'm interested to know if you guys, as well as Sam, are tired of all those fuzzy videos of UAPs that we've been seeing.
Yeah, want some clear shots.
Today's meme says, you see a couple chatting in front of the TV and the fellow's saying, if I'm going to believe in aliens, I need to see something more than just fuzzy videos. And ding dong, the doorbell rings. And of course, behind the door are a couple fuzzy aliens and fuzzy shit. So the videos are in focus, guys.
I thought Bigfoot was the fuzzy, blurry champion of the world, but aliens are too.
That was a hairy alien.
Fuzzy alien.
Reminds me of an old girlfriend I used to have.
Those dark eyes.
She had a bigger mustache than I did.
Oh, my.
Oh, God. Did she use that wax to take off her mustache? You could hear her screaming over and across the street.
Well, heck, if there's that much hair. Well, when you guys were fixing salad, did you ever cut through things and see aliens in your food?
Oh, all the time.
Oh, yeah. There's a good green paper, an alien face. How about in your eggs? I don't know what that.
That's an unhappy alien. Oh, that was giving us a kiss.
In your breakfast. Yes, isn't that a good in your pastry? And here's a sleeping ET there.
Oh my God!
But of course, we can't forget the ET in the tortilla. Do you guys see him there? I just had to circle it so you could see it.
That's a happy alien.
He is. He's very smiling. And I want to show you what I found on eBay as a potato chip shaped like an alien. So pretty cool, big,
I see
water
it. I see it.
And Amanda, if you want to roll the next tip, if you want to buy this on eBay, it's only $45,000.
Okay.
And the good thing is they will ship it to you for $3,735. But make sure you read the small print because the seller does not accept returns. Okay, so don't break it, don't accidentally eat it. But anyway, it seems at the asking price, it should be placed in a safer container, don't you think?
Yeah,
maybe under glass on velvet or something.
Diamonds.
Yes, so a diamond next to its ear pierced or something. I don't know. So that can be found on eBay.
For $45,000, I
That's
don't
gotta
want
be
to
a
see a
joke.
potato chip. I want to see the real deal.
I
want an alien come to dinner with me or something of that nature. $45,000 for a potato chip. You got to be out of your world. Out of this world.
I'm never looking at food the same way again. Let's see. What's in my lemon?
Hey, there's some
wait,
money
I
in
have
that
an
lemon.
alien face. I see it. Whoa.
Oh my God.
Isn't that hilarious? Well, I also found some good food on Etsy, and check out these alien macaroons. There's some galaxy macaroons, and these
those
yummy. Are they pretty? They look like hand painted to some degree, but these yummy lemon macaroons can be found on Etsy. A lot of things can be found on Etsy, so search for anything there related
How old are
alien.
these things? How long have they been sitting around?
I'm sure they make them fresh. And if you eat do you get green lips with those? You eat those, you get the bright green lips.
Yes,
Looks like it's got mold all over it.
No, I would assume
Folks,
that they're
get
very
yourself
fresh.
an alien macaroon and you can get botulism for the week.
That's right.
Oh, no.
The green didn't look furry to me like that fuzzy alien from earlier, but you never know. You never know.
Fuzzy
It's
aliens.
just
That's the whole
fun.
thing now. Fuzzy aliens.
That's great. Well, Chris, what do you have for us today in the news?
The news. Oh,
Yes.
those crazy Russians are going at it again. I love them.
Hang on tight, everybody.
Oh my
Okay, I'm
God.
holding on.
Russians. Russia says that it is down to UFO. Jerk. A mystery object described by one local news outlet as a UFO has been shot down in the southern Russian region of Rostov. Valesia Gobeluva, the governor of Rostov. I can't say his name. I'm not Russian.
I couldn't either. You're forgiven.
Rostov
what you meant.
Oblast wrote on a why can't they just say city? Oblast. Maybe it's I don't know. Wrote on a telegram, and a small size object, the shape of a ball, has been discovered flying in the wind at an altitude of around 1.5 miles on January 3rd. With the object spotted above the village of Sultan Salsa, that sounds maybe it's Mexican over there, in the region of Manakaluski, any district. Gobeluba said the decision was taken to liquidate it. I urge everyone, come on now, liquidate a UFO. They're doing barrel rolls around our most sophisticated planes, and these crazy Russians shot one down. Okay. I urge everyone to remain calm to ensure security. All forces and means are involved. That's the most scariest thing there. When all the Russian forces get together, they all got bottles of vodka saying, "Hey, we shot down a UFO." The sky is covered with anti-aircraft defenses. He added, without specifying, oh my God, what the object was. In reporting his comments, local news outlet Payeta Rostov.
That was good.
Yeah, hey, that was pretty good. Carried a headline that said, a UFO in the form of a ball was shot down in the sky. Telegram channels that night described how air defense systems in Rostov had been operating. The channel Ogaskakaguga, I don't know, I can't pronounce it. Ostramlanahana and Novostra Caution News. That's how you pronounce it. I should have just said Caution News. Published a video showing a shiny object flying and then exploding in the sky. Look, another one has gone. Someone is heard saying in a clip. That was captioned another video of the word of Rostov Regional Air Defense. A witness told the channel how there was a very strong explosion that everything in the house shook. We realized that the air defense were in operation. No kidding. Rostov borders with the Sea of Azov, okay, which is connected. This is why the Russians can't do anything, which is connected to the Black Sea of the Strait of Kerch, a strategic location for both sides of the war in Ukraine. Since the start of the Vladimir Putin's invasion, the object near Ukraine has been subjected to regular shelling and drone attacks. In October, Rostov was named one of the 6 Russian regions and 2 annexed regions in which Putin introduced a medium response level to the threats posed to the war. I wonder what kind of response threat he's going to go with a U.S. You know, these guys are going to get pissed off one of these times. You keep shooting at these things, they're going to say, you know what, we're going to shoot back. These include restrictions on movement and strengthening the public order measures. He also announced the maximum response effectively to martial law. Yeah, that's crap. Ukrainian drones attacked are believed to have been behind strikes on Russian air bases in December that reportedly damaged aircraft. So, folks, I'm kind of considering this might be a Ukrainian drone or Iranian drone or some kind of drone. However, I got to love this one. However, Kyrylo Burushirov, Ukraine's chief military intelligence officer, General Kyrylo Burushirov, a military intelligence official, welcomed the attacks. Amanda, you got to roll that tape.
Please.
It's time to close out the week with our interesting stories chat with Richard Southern. And Richard, the Russian government is making some pretty major claims tonight.
Yeah, I mean, we're not too happy, I guess, with the Russian government right now. But that aside, Russian air defenses, Melissa, did say that they shot down a UFO. They actually released some video of it. We're looking at it here. This was reportedly shot down in the Rostov area near the Ukraine border. The governor of this Russian region said the UFO was a small-sized object in the shape of a ball and was flying roughly 1.5 miles high in the sky on January 3rd when the decision was made to shoot it down. Now, it is not clear what the object is. It's certainly possible it was a Ukrainian or maybe even a Russian drone related to the conflict. We don't know. Still, though, back in September, the National Academy of Sciences of Ukraine claimed the skies over Kyiv were swarming with unidentified flying objects. So add this to our long list of what was that up in the sky.
Yeah, very interesting. You never know. Now,
well, this just in. Boris, the 11-year-old, is still crying because you shot down my Chinese lantern on my birthday. So what do you think, Katie?
Coincidence again. It looks a lot like our case of the week that we're going to get to. So who knows? I just think it's interesting. They would report that, there's several UFOs flying over Russia. Maybe they're going to come in and intervene,
Good luck with that one.
Yeah.
Did the Russians say it was a UFO? But I'm curious to know what the threat was and if they're so desperate that they would risk shooting down a UFO.
Here's the headline. Russia says it shot down a UFO. Doesn't say anything about them shooting first. Doesn't say anything about them shooting back. These crazy Russians, man, they shoot and ask questions later. Let's blow it out of the sky and then we'll see what it is.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, let's get to the next story. I love this one too. We exist inside a giant space bubble, and scientists have finally mapped it out. How do you map out a bubble? Scientists unveiled the first 3D map of a magnetic field over a super bubble, a structure made by exploding stars in the solar system. You may not realize it in your day-to-day life. Oh, yeah, that's what I'm thinking about, how I'm in a bubble. But we are all enveloped in a giant super bubble that was blown into space by the explosive deaths of dozens of odd stars. What's a common star? Known as the local bubble. This structure extends to about 1,000 light years around the solar system and is one of countless similar bubbles in our galaxy that are produced by the fallout of supernovas. Cosmic super bubbles have remained mysterious for decades, but recent astronomical advances have finally exposed key details about their evolution and structure. Just within the past few years, researchers have mapped the local bubble in 3 dimensions and demonstrated that its surface is an active site of a star birth because it captures gas and dust and it expands into space. It didn't come down to New York City where everything else is crazy. Now a team of scientists have added another layer to the picture of the local bubble syndrome by charting the magnetic field of the structure. which is thought to play a major role in star formation. Astronomers led by Theo O'Neill, who conducted the new research at the Center for Astrophysics at Harvard and the Smithsonian, they presented the first ever 3D map of a magnetic field over a superbubble. The team also unveiled details of their new map, bringing the local bubble into sharper focus. We think the entire interstellar medium is really full of these bubbles that are driven by various forms of feedback from really massive stars, where they're outputting energy in some form or another into the space between the stars. Goodman added that the magnetic fields outside the solar system are infamously difficult to pin down in models. Yeah, okay. Because they cannot be easily mapped in 3D like those inside our solar system. As a result, the new map should be viewed as an initial sketch that will be refined by future observations and research methods. Now that we have this map, there's a lot of cool science that can be done. Since stars are clustered, it's not as if the sun is a super special and is the local bubble because we're just lucky. Folks, I don't know what that means, but I don't want to know. Okay. We know that the interstellar medium is full of bubbles like this. What happens when these bubbles interact, and how does this drive star formation? And then, if two bubbles collide, don't they burst? I don't know. And the overall long-term evolution of gigantic structures. Amanda, you got to roll that tape.
It would seem that the solar system has been studied by mankind, if not completely, then in full detail. The planets have all been identified for a long time. Rovers have been traveling on Mars for a while. Comets and asteroids have been almost counted by name, and even the soil from one of them was taken and delivered to Earth for research. But this is where the scientists were dumbfounded. It turns out that our entire solar system, including the far, far away Oort cloud, located at a distance of a light year from the Sun, is immersed in a giant bubble. Its diameter is 1,000 light years. And what is remarkable, our Sun is practically in the center of this bubble. Are we really living in a huge bubble? And how does our solar system actually work? In 1977, Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 launched from Cape Canaveral less than a month apart. By the way, Voyager 2 launched earlier, but since it had a different flight path, it flew to the edge of our solar system second, 6 years after its colleague. Both devices found a very strange anomaly. As you move away from the Sun, the density of space increases. Talk about another bubble, much larger than the heliosphere, so that you'll appreciate all the thoughtfulness of the cosmos that packed us into two bubbles at once and understand the relationship between them. When you look at the pictures of deep space, you get the impression that it's filled with clouds of interstellar dust and luminous gas. But back in the 70s and 80s of the last century, astronomers began to pay attention to the fact that the galactic space around the Sun differs from this picture. The solar system seemed to hang in an almost absolute void. This year, scientists at the Harvard-Smithsonian Center for Astrophysics, CFA, proved that yes, we really are in a kind of void. They conducted the most complex computer simulations, creating a three-dimensional reconstruction of space and time. The study showed that the Sun and Earth are located almost in the center of a giant bubble with a diameter of 1,000 light years, which they called the local bubble. According to calculations, it began to form about 14 million years ago. For this, it's necessary that about 15 supernovae explode over several million years. This series of explosions pushed the interstellar gas outward with the pressure of light, creating a bubble-like structure with a dense surface at the boundary. And now, the bubble continues to grow in size. When the bubble first formed, it was expanding at about 60 miles per second. According to data collected by the European Space Agency's Gaia Space Observatory. At present, the bubble is still expanding at 4 miles per second. On its surface, 7 star formation regions were detected, dense molecular clouds where stars are formed.
I don't know what any of that means. So
it all makes
Katie,
sense to
what do
me
you
now.
think?
I've been living in the void. I knew I've been living in the void. I have so many questions. Okay, it keeps expanding. Can the bubble pop? And if something comes into our bubble, wouldn't it explode our bubble? Wouldn't it break the bubble? I don't know. What do you think, Tara?
I'm so intrigued, and I can't
Yes,
wait to
interesting.
see what the research on these super bubbles find out. And and I thought it's interesting as well to see how they were able to detect the change in the density of space and the magnetic fields. That's where a lot of importance is as far as life and how they protect us. So it's exciting. Thanks for bringing that.
Great.
That's cool.
Yeah,
you're
that's
welcome. I
interesting.
think some scientists just got drunk one night and said, "Hey, maybe there's a bubble around us. Hey, that's a good idea." You want to see a bubble burst? Wait until you see my wife get mad when I don't take out the garbage.
Uh-oh.
You see a bubble burst, all right. Supernova.
Or bubbles within bubbles within bubbles.
Right. Very cool.
I can't get my head wrapped around this theory yet because it's the first I ever heard of it. So I thought it would be a good story, but we're all in a bubble.
Yeah.
All right. Some homework for you, Tara, on Sky Tour. You got some get on there and ask some questions and come back and let us know what you find out. Yeah.
I'm excited
get them
about
on that.
It's cool. Yep.
All right. Are we time for case of the week?
Awesome.
So, yeah, this is an interesting case. And the reason we like to bring case of the week every week to our viewers and listeners is it gives a good idea of what is reported into MUFON and what our field investigators do and everything. And I thought this was an interesting one. This is category 1 case again. It is case number 127613. It occurred December 29th of this 2022, just recently, at 10:09 p.m. from Woodbridge, Virginia, another Virginia case. So the witness reported 4 orange glowing fire orbs. They were witnessed flying in a straight line, 10 to 20 seconds apart. No sound heard from aircraft. It almost looked like afterburner from a plane, but there was no discernible plane shape and no sound at all. So what's interesting about this is when I pulled the 2 videos that were reported, and you guys will have to let me know what you think, but I thought I heard sound, but that's just me. So this is interesting. The FI in this case, they said, although reported to be orbs, under forensic analysts clearly showed craft, plural, were hidden by the orb appearance. It said this conclusion could be changed as more evidence comes into the future date. So let's see what you guys think. Amanda, if you want to roll the video. Thanks. And I had a couple of still shots, so let's show those real quick. Still shot 1, and then still shot number 2. There we go. What do you think, Chris?
I am a little perplexed because I'm trying to look at the bottom of it to see if it's brighter at the bottom than the top. That would make me suspicious of a Chinese lantern. It's not there. It's got a real clear ring around it that shows that it's probably the intensity of the light is even all the way around in a circle. You can notice that except for the part on the left, as you're looking at it, there's a little bit of fade there, but I don't think it's a Chinese lantern. I don't see anything that would make me suspect it's a drone. I think you got something there. The only thing that curiosities me is what wind direction it was and was it traveling with the wind?
Right. And there were 4 of them in a line. So that's interesting. But the one, the dark image, it looks kind of like that Russian footage of whatever it is they shot at. We should have shot at these things. I don't know. See what happens.
Yeah, let's
what do you
start
think,
a
Tara?
galactic war.
Yeah. What do you think, Tara?
I agreed with Chris. It kind of looked like a Chinese lantern at first, but it was moving very fast and in a straight line too, like it had intention almost. So
yeah, I don't know what the sound was because that was the original sound in that, and it does sound to me like an aircraft. Rumbling. So I don't know.
It also looks like they were zoomed in so much that it was beyond the capability of the camera's ability to focus. So it's hard to tell what it was too.
Right. So perplexing. Yeah. All right. Did we catch up with Bob this week?
Yes, we did. Bob has sent us another great video.
Awesome.
Amanda?
Hi, everybody. This is Bob Spearing, MUFON's International Director for Investigations. And every week, the crew at MUFON What's Up asks me to come on and share something interesting. Sometimes it's in historical newspaper articles, sometimes it's a video or a photograph or an interesting case. I have a very interesting video today out of Ontario, Canada from November 26th, MUFON case 127010. It's a nighttime video, and it appears to show a possible triangle or rectangular object that does not have standard lighting. At one point, the witness in this case states that the object hovered. So let's take a look at this now and see if you guys can figure out what may be passing overhead here that could possibly stop and hover like this thing did, according to the witness. Let's roll the tape.
What the hell?
So it seems to be almost diamond shaped, a squashed diamond shape. A blinking red light in the front of it would be unusual. We don't see any green or white lights, green or red lights on the sides, indicating that it may be a conventional aircraft. It seems to be moving in this video, but the lighting is certainly odd, and the squashed diamond shape is also very interesting. If it did hover, then it would truly be some sort of unknown. Right now, we're going to leave it hanging there as an unknown, and we're going to be sending this one out for photo analysis. We have a lot of photo analysis going on this month. So that's it for today. This is Bob Spearing signing off. I'd like to thank the gang for having me on again, and hopefully I'll see you next week.
Thank you, Bob. Always fascinating. Man, I wish that video was longer.
I do too.
That lighting configuration was so interesting. Oh, I can't wait to see what comes out of that one. I wonder how long the original footage is, or if that was it. Because I mean, if you see something that unusual, you'd think you'd film it the whole time. So that's kind of curious to me.
You know, the thing about some of these sightings, you can have two people standing next to each other, and they could look at this object in the sky, and they will describe it as a different thing. One will say it's a triangle, the other one will say it's a rectangle, and just like Bob is describing it as a diamond shape. So, I mean, it's the way these things move, it's very hard to tell the exact thing what they are.
That's true. As they turn and shift and move directions, their shapes change. So yeah, it's tricky.
Exactly.
It is tricky. Well, what do you guys think? Should we bring in our special guest, Sam?
Sammy.
Great time. Let's bring Sam in. All right. Sam Maranto is an investigative researcher best known for his work on the Tinley Park mass sightings of 2004 and the O'Hare Gate C-17 UAP incident of 2006. These mass sightings have been featured in several television programs, such as the History Channel's UFO Hunters episode, Invasion, Illinois, and Aliens at the Airport, and Dateline MNBC's 10 Best UFO Encounters, and many more. Two other noted investigations were the Lake Cook car incident of 2008 and the Chicago Mothman saga of 2011 to present. I can't wait to get into Mothman. Each was featured in popular television shows and other media. As a guest on radio and television shows, as well as requested public speaker, Sam has always made it a point to emphasize the fact that the UFO UAP phenomena are genuine. Sam is also a media consultant, licensed professional with over 40 years in the financial service industry, MUFON field investigator since 2001, STAR team member, photo analyst team member, and MUFON state director of Illinois since 2007, the state I was born in. So welcome to the show, Sam. How you doing, Sam? It's great to have you on.
Thank you very much for that wonderful introduction. And
we're so happy you could be with us.
Well, I'm happy to be here. I talked to the two of you, Chris and Katie. Now I'm going to have to talk to Tara now and then because
okay, well,
please.
I feel I left her out, you know?
I'm grateful to be here.
Yeah, that's great.
So, Sam, let's start at the very beginning. And what got you interested in this field?
Actually, I didn't get interested. It got interested in me.
Love
In
that.
1959, I was up at Fox Lake, and you may remember that area up by the Wisconsin border. My uncle and aunt just had put a new well in at their cottage. And they took me up there to get away from my mom and dad, to give them a break. And I was up there, and they would do that quite often. And it was a place that I really loved to go to. And so when I got up there, of course, I had to be the mischievous little child that I was. I had to go over there and see how deep this well actually was. So I started dropping things down there till my aunt noticed me doing that, and she started yelling at me and asked me to just go in the backyard. I went in the backyard, and there was a channel that connected the lake. So I went back there, and I started skipping rocks across the water. And while I was doing that, a basketball size orb flew over my right shoulder. It was self-luminous. I felt a charge of electricity through me, and that could have been just total fright. I don't know, but this is what I recall. And it flew over a fence in back of a willow tree. It was going to the left, coming up to the right, and it went into the clouds. There were some clouds coming in, and everything got dark from what I can recall. And my aunt was in front of me before I knew it, and she was screaming at me. And she's like, "Where were you?" And I looked at her. It was like I woke out of a trance or something, and I stared at her, and I go, "What do you mean?" She goes, "I've been calling for you for a half hour. I've been back here looking." And I go, "I've been standing right here." She goes, "Well, you haven't been here. I don't know where you went, and I may tell your mom." And I'm like, "Great." And I'm looking around, and why is everything dark? Well, I was extremely frightened by this. First of all, I thought it was an act of God punishing me for dropping stuff down the well,
Oh, no.
rocks and whatever.
Guilt.
And so I jumped into the back of the car. I went home, and this was on a Sunday evening. And my mom answered the door, and I got in, took off my coat right away, and she asked me if I was going to watch Dennis the Menace, which was a new series on television. And I really enjoyed it. I think it came on 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock Central, possibly. I went into the middle bedroom, covered up my head, and I stayed there. I think I fell asleep in there, and they took and put me into my room, which was further down later. Now, the strange thing about this whole experience, I had encounters thereafter for many, many years, up until 1980.
Wow.
So this was something that found me. I didn't find it, but I've had a number of experiences and related the P word, paranormal experiences, to the dirty word. So this is something that found me.
Okay, Sam, I got a 3-part. Sam, first I want to say, Sammy, it's great for you to be here. Okay, I haven't talked to you in a long time. I think it was 20 minutes ago. So anyways, I want to start out with, because you brought this up about your abduction and stuff. So I'd like to ask you, what kind of craft do you think it was? The color, the shape, things of that nature. But I want to talk about your other, your encounters after the first initial one, because you said you got an electrical charge. Do you think that was maybe something that the craft stunned you with? Because I am getting reports of people being stunned. They either are being touched and stunned, or something like a flash of light hits them and they're completely helpless. Do you think the same thing was similar to you?
Something startled me or caused me to have that reaction, or it was induced. In other words, something may have hit me, or it may have been induced. I don't know, but it scared the heck out of me. I felt this fiery surge, like an electrical, and it was, by the way, the color of it was like a whitish orb, as I recall, a self-luminous whitish orb. And you had another question there.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about your similar encounters that you had afterwards, because you had your first initial encounter where you had some missing time, correct?
Oh, the time element is what I wanted to emphasize.
Yeah.
There was a missing time. I think that was something, let's say, subliminal, that was haunting me. that's probably why I was probably more startled when my aunt said that she was back there looking for me and I wasn't there. Now, where the hell was I, right? If I wasn't there and she was there looking for me, and my aunt would lie to me, and I didn't move from the spot where I was, at least to my knowledge. I was standing right there. It was an indentation where the boats came in, and they parked. It was enough for two boats and a fish well where they would keep the fish, live well, and that was it. That was an area maybe about 18 feet, 20 feet by 22 feet, something, or maybe 25 feet, and I was standing on the right side of it when she walked in the yard, and clearly she would have seen me. It would have been impossible, and I would have seen her. And this is what happened. So I don't know if it was a combination of that thing shocking me. It was dark out, and the fact that she said she was looking at me and she's standing for me yelling. I get shook up about anything. I'm pretty good that way, but I don't know. Yeah, missing time is a strong possibility when I look back at it through all these years. And again, because I've had these experiences, that leads me to be far more cautious into analyzing stuff and to be more objective and probably a little more leaning towards being a little more critical in analyzing things. I try to discount that in my life. But it happened. And I'm telling you the truth, this is why I took an interest in it, so plus the personal experience is beyond that. And
that's what I want to get into next is that's the second part of my question is the personal experiences after that initial one. What did you have happen to you, Sam?
Like I had mentioned, there were 3 bedrooms in the house. And when you'd walk in the front door, which was positioned in the middle of the house. It was a rancho on my dad's side. And you'd walk directly straight into the middle room, and the other room down the hall would be where my sister and I slept. And one night, soon after this experience, there was something on me and on my chest, and it looked at me, and the head of it looked pretty much like one of these grayish type creatures. How I always described it, in fact, I was explaining this to someone else, Daryl Sims, and I said, you know what it reminded me of? A toy called a cootie. Now, the ladies here may be younger than us. I know they're younger than us. Mm-mm. But you may remember the cootie toy.
I remember the cooties.
Oh, really? Okay.
Just don't catch it.
Yeah, don't catch it, cooties. That's right. And it reminded me of that because of its head and its spindly arms. And its motions were, how would you describe the motions? They were jerky, like a marionette. They were not smooth. It was jerky motions. And it was all I seen was its head and what would be, I think, a shoulder and an arm, maybe 2 arms. But I recall being put through walls. I mean, I would know what the feeling of going through the wall was like.
Wow.
And being brought over grass, the smell of the grass at night, I could tell that was when it was cut, because my dad would cut it and I could smell it, and the dew and the smell. But that's it. And I told my mother about it, and my mother said that it was, I said, this is, and it had, I asked it what its name was, and it gave me a name, and for some reason, the name could have been like for a group or whatever, but it replied. And as I recall, it was a hard consonant like an R or something. And it was like 2 syllables. And I told my mother about it. And anytime I would have any encounters with it thereafter, I told her. And I asked her, what are these or who are they? And she said it was my imaginary friends. And so I told my friends down the street about it. Yeah, my imaginary friend came by. There it is, the damn phone. And
like an ant
Yeah,
It is like an ant.
and bigger eyes
It's a
and
cootie.
spittly arms.
Mhm.
And they said, well, that means that it was make believe. Your mother said it was imaginary. It was your imagination. And I was very upset at my mom, and because this wasn't my imagination. I mean, I had a creative mind, but dang, this thing was well outside the scope of anything I could have came up with. I didn't watch any of that type of stuff, first of all. And by the way, back then we didn't really have images like that during 1959, 1960. It wasn't until substantially later that we saw creatures like that imposed on us in let's say, for instance, sci-fi or uh, some punk culture or subculture or whatever. So I think when Whitley's was probably one of the first that when I seen that, I was like, whoa, yeah, I can relate to that. But so, I mean, when you have these experiences and you're an investigative researcher, and that came about, really, the investigative research came about more so because of the paranormal investigation work I was doing for years. I did that for years. I did the P word, and the this came. I took an interest into ufology again in the '80s when we had a sighting out here in Lamont, Illinois, where a couple police officers thought they were seeing a helicopter, and it wasn't a helicopter; it was a UFO coming over the bridge off of 83 and towards Lamont. You know the Lamont area, probably, from your experience living here, and it was also seen near the refinery, which was a commonplace. Sightings around the refinery and around the Aragon National Laboratory was very common because that was a cyclotron and advanced research in as far as nuclear science and atomic energy. So, and then that's where I was taking an interest into MUFON. I knew about the J.L. and Hynek Center for UFO Study. That I followed, and I was very much interested in that. But MUFON was involved in investigating that. In fact, Bill Leone, who was the assistant state director at the time, he was investigating it. And then there was a sighting in I'm thinking it's 1999, and it was throughout southern part of the Chicago region and the suburbs into and over I-80, and a pilot had seen this unusual bright object. And there was quite a few people. There could have been at least 100 people that seen it. And the object traveled across the road, and he got excited and started investigating it and filed a couple of reports. He filed with Newfork and also with MUFON. And so I was listening to the interview when I was coming home. I had a radio show out here, and I was coming home from the station, and I was listening to it on another station. I was listening to this interview. So I immediately went to this gentleman's coffee house, and I started to interview him. And I was there haunting him probably for, I don't know, 3 or 4 days, bringing him books after I started to talk to him. And we were, investigating the case. When I met Bill from MUFON, I brought the maps, the Stidwell maps, and started laying out stuff. And that's how I got involved at MUFON. All of a sudden, he asked me to become a member, and took me some time, but I did it, and voila, But did I talk enough or what?
Voila.
I love it.
What an amazing history you have. And I have kind of some follow-up questions on what you just shared with us, Sam. It's interesting that first experience happened near water. We hear that a lot. And I wonder what the connection is there. But did you have any I guess, telepathic experience during these events? And have you ever had any hypnosis regression, perhaps, to find out maybe more? And then the last part of it is, you talked to your mother. Did you share any of this with any of your friends?
I didn't talk about anything pertaining to this or even the subject of UFOs for a long time. As far as other things, paranormal related type stuff, we all had an interest in that, and they knew I had a strong interest in it. As far as telepathy or any of the related phenomena that does take place, say for instance, when you do have an encounter, some of these senses or abilities let's say, go into hyperdrive, or you start really becoming pretty good at it, and it did, and that was something that I think was also innate because my mother's side of the family had nocturnal cognition, and that was something that became far more powerful. But as far as some of the other abilities, they became heightened. So yeah, I mean, that is a real, that does take place.
Yeah.
As far as harm, there could have been harm too. I don't know. The other thing about it is that it may have been, strangely enough, I had a lot of horrible occurrences during that period of time that would just be so traumatic for most people, unless you're living in a war-torn part of the world or some third world country and seeing grief. But I saw people die in my family left and right. It was almost like every other month, somebody in my family was dying. And I spent more time in funeral homes and going to wakes than I ever did going to a playground. And
I'm sorry.
that emphasized was with the loss of my baby sister.
Mm.
And that was extremely traumatic. And I was just wondering if possible, some of this trauma, you think beyond that. I'm always interested in the human social response to this. How are we responding to it? When I look back, well, as a child, how did this work with me during these episodes of trauma?
Mm-hmm.
Was it because it was there? It was still happening. Was it there monitoring me? Did it make my life better because I was traumatized by seeing it, and it made these other experiences maybe lessened as far as impact? It's kind of interesting,
Yeah, that is something I am so interested in, Sam. And I'm so glad you brought that up, because there's a lot of research that has been done about not only contact abductions, but paranormal events and people who are tapped into psychic abilities and and trauma, and this disassociation piece. So when you're a child and you're fearful or you're going through trauma, you disassociate. And I've always questioned whether when we disassociate, or people who astral travel, right, or remote view, they tap into something else. And then once that connection is made, it stays with you. And that brings me to a question I had. Did you have paranormal things going on at the same time as your abduction? How old were you exactly? I'm picturing you around 9-10 years old, but I don't.
5.
Oh, 5. So littler.
little.
Okay.
I was
So
born
little.
in 54,
So little guys.
I was a little dude, yeah.
Yeah.
And my sister died. Well, she was born in 60, died in 61.
Oh,
So, like,
no.
this whole period of time, that was just, oof.
Yeah.
That day is burnt into my mind. Every bit of it. What we did, what I ate. I went by my aunt's house next door. Pancakes. Mind you, my dad always said pancakes instead of pancakes. So we had pancakes with Aunt Loretta, and Aunt Loretta died soon thereafter too. And
Oh, no.
it was just one thing after another. It was just like, come on. So I was initiated. So as a child, death wasn't something foreign to me. I held my dead baby sister in my arms.
Oh, no.
And she was very close to me. She lived in an oxygen tent. And when I would come home from school, my uncle brought a ukulele for me. And so I would play with it and I'd try to entertain her and dance around. And she had the cutest dimples you ever see. She had strawberry blonde hair and blue eyes. She was just a beautiful thing. A little dimple. smiled and laughed. She was a precious little thing.
Oh man.
And,
What a great
and
memory.
by the way, Katie, that's why your name sticks, because that was my sister's middle name, Katie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, my
Oh,
grandmother's
sweet.
too. So it was really cute,
Yeah.
So, but these things, what comes into play, where does the phenomena end, and where do we draw these lines on us? What is phenomena, and how do we approach it, and how does it interplay with these other experiences that are traumatic?
Right.
I find it interesting.
I do too.
Stan-
Did you have paranormal things that happened? That's that second part of the question. You did. Okay.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah.
I've always had paranormal experiences throughout my whole life.
Okay.
And that is something that my poor wife had to get used to. It was commonplace. To us, it was nothing. It wasn't abnormal.
Yeah.
The ability to interact with things that are not here, in this realm, was something that I was known for. And as it is now, it's lessened. As you get older and you have other issues, I think it's vacating itself for your benefit, because it drains on you. So, but at times, when it was very active, it was beneficial because it helped other people's lives. And in some instances, other times it just scared the hell out of me. But it was weird. Hey,
kind of wreaked havoc on your life, didn't it?
Hell yeah, it did.
Yeah. Hey, Sam, I got a question, because you brought this up about all these tragedies and everything. But did you by any chance think that maybe you were getting either precognitive or dreams or something, that these disasters were going to happen to you within your realm of stuff? And do you think you were seeing more than one entity? You talked about this one entity. Do you think it could have been something else that you were seeing? I'm not talking about a ghost. I'm talking about maybe an angel or something like that.
See, that words, it's very strange. I got this thing in my head about words. I don't do good, bad, right, wrong. I don't do duality. And I have a background in theology. I went to a seminary. So I had my fill of angels, demons. In fact, where I got most interested in anything unusual was there, because we had so many people that were involved in very esoteric interests, and I was able to learn a lot. One of the gentlemen that was there, one of the priests that was there, just had left before I came into there, but I heard all the good stories about him, was this Father Nicola. Father Nicola was somehow involved with the St. Louis exorcism of that little boy down there in St. Louis. You may recall. And that what I guess apparently the exorcism was based on.
Yeah.
And so you'd hear all the stories and unusual things that happen, around that period of time. But that really piqued my curiosity, and it really heightened it. I also got involved in the first paranormal serious research. I mean, extremely serious, when I was probably about 17 years old, 17 or 18. And I had seen an apparition at the end of my bed. And I was working at my uncle's machine shop. So I went there. That was a Saturday morning. And I was able to work there at that age because that was family. And I was so scared by that experience that, and I was sweeping in the back. And all of a sudden I heard somebody in back of me. And all of a sudden I heard, "Have you ever seen a ghost?" And I turned around with instantaneous tears in my eyes. And it was my cousin Paul. And I says, "Yes, last night." And he said, "So did I." And that goes into a story and a half. And in fact, that story and a half was actually supposed to be made into a movie.
Oh, wow.
Well, I want to hear that story and a half after the break. But I will ask you this one quick question.
Sure.
So with all the unique things that have happened to you, do you think there's a connection between the paranormal and UFOs?
There is only a disconnect when we don't exist. In other words, of course, all things are connected. And when it comes to the world of the phenomena and wherever you want to call it, all it is nomenclatures. Of course, there is continuity of some sort. Like static electricity and lightning versus the electricity that turns on a switch. There's commonality, but they're each and every different thing. Each thing is entirely separate. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's
sense to me.
Very interesting.
It's a good answer. Very good answer. So, Sam, when we get back, I would like to get into the Tinley Park sightings, the O'Hare sightings. And I also wanted to talk to you a little bit about David Marler and I do believe he was the state director years ago for Illinois, and his triangular sightings in that state as well, and what you know about that. So more on the other side of the break, and we'll see you guys in a few minutes.
Hey members, the new KGRA DB app is now available on iOS and Android devices. Gain on-demand access to any KGRA DB programming. Download any show directly to your mobile device to listen or watch on the go. Go to the App Store and search KGRA DB.
MUFON is the voice of thousands of like-minded people who want to see change. We speak up against UFO secrecy. We engage governments and agencies around the world on the topic. We share information with the public through our journal, website, newsletter, social media, and even our own TV channel. When you join MUFON, you add your voice to the cause. Few things are more important in our time than understanding the UFO question. Join MUFON. Find your friends.
Are you looking to go on a faraway journey that is magical and mysterious, reaping on mystical legends? If so, then Mysterious Adventure Tours is perfect for you. Imagine a voyage to explore ancient mysteries of Ireland, haunted majesties of Scotland, or their chilling Birth of the Vampires in Romania. These small, esoteric getaways are limited and do fill fast. So, go to mysteriousAdventuretours.com and book your trip soon.
You're listening to the KGRA Digital Broadcasting Network. We provide unparalleled coverage of trending news in the world of ufology, cryptozoology, and paranormal phenomenon. Whether you're watching our video live stream or listening to one of our audio programs, you are getting the best from world-renowned researchers and hosts, guiding you through topics the mainstream won't touch. Miss one of your favorite programs? No problem. Head over to the members area at kgradb.com for access to our massive library of award-winning content. Make contact, stay connected, only at kgradb.com.
Hey, welcome back. Okay, so I had to share this during break. It's uploading right now. Just like Tara's food, I saw that. And my wood grain.
Are you saying Tara's food is that bad that it takes a long time? Tara,
parts of the tree are edible.
Aliens and everything. Oh my goodness.
If I ever visit you, just go to the store and buy me something, okay? You don't have, because Katie's saying your cooking is bad. Yes, you did. You just said that. You know, it's like you got to download this in order to eat it. Kind of.
No, I was downloading my photo from the
like
wood grain.
it sells your co-host right on the air. Yeah.
All right, Sam.
You guys
back
are
to Sam.
silly.
All right, Sam, I would really like to get into some of these well-known cases that you really dive deep into.
Yeah.
One of those being Tinley Park. So if you can, start us when this was, where this was located, and just kind of walk us through some of these cases.
The Tinley Park case was the first one that was a mass sighting was August the 21st, 2004, which was during the weekend of the what's called the Arid Water Show. And I'm sure you remember that, having lived in Illinois. It is a big thing. And during that weekend, I think they had over 2 million people down there. And this is usually the norm. I don't know what it was last year, but you have 2 million plus people. Now, it just so happened on that very same day, Ozzy Osbourne was playing at the Tweeter Center, which is right by Tinley Park. In fact, it's
an
in
alien.
Yeah. So, in fact, he actually covered this on one of the shows that Jack, his son, put together. So
they want to believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
I love that show.
Yeah, it is. It's great. So, here it was in the evening, and it was a perfectly beautiful, I shouldn't say almost perfect evening. The problem was Sam was asleep when this was going on. All he had to do was look out his window and would have been able to see it, or sliding door, and I would have been able to see it. The objects came in from the southwest, and they just moved along. And it was 3 illuminations. They were reddish orange, and an isosceles. They were in an isosceles formation. So, in other words, you'll get a pattern of straight, like a pillar of lights. Everything's a matter of perspective, and they don't break from it. So. Perfect. That gives you an idea what it does look like. And in fact, during this period of time, a gentleman up in Rib Mountain called me because he's seen, I believe it was UFO hunters. And he says, is that you on TV? And I'm like, I don't know. What are you watching? And he says, UFO hunters. I go, yeah, that's me. He goes, that isn't 3 separate lights. It's one huge object. And I know because I stood right below it.
Wow, that's huge.
Yes.
It is.
He was up on a fire watch up in Rib Mountain. He'd seen these lights from the distance, and he drove up there. He didn't even close the door on his truck. He opened the door, ran up the fire watch, the lookout tower, and as he was going up, he was feeling electrical static hitting him and stinging him, and he gets to the top. And what he thought was 3 separate lights, he started to see the structure below it. And he said, and this is the quote, he says, Sam, it undulated like that of it, like the motion of an eel, how it undulates when it moves. And I go, you mean it looked wavy? And he goes, yes, like that. And did you ever see the heat rising off of a hot asphalt? I go, yes. He goes, a lot like that, or the combination thereof. And he says, I get up there and I'm looking at these things. The light is recessed. The one in front and the 2 in back were whitish, and they were recessed. And what was in the middle was a large, dark red area, and it was recessed also. And you could see things moving on the inside, as if something was moving inside.
Was it transparent, Sam?
It was. How was he? He was saying panels. And the funny thing is, one of the witnesses at Tinley Park took out a focusing, a sighting scope, and was able to see that exact characteristic on the second object that comes in. And most people don't know about this. It came to the Tinley Park sighting 15 minutes later. So another object comes in, and he was concentrating on the red that red, very unusual dark red, and he says it was like panels on the inside. And I'll be doggone. And these people don't know each other. These are independent evaluations, and that's what he said. So he's up there and he's watching this, and all of a sudden he says, in back of the white light by the tip, and there was there was one tip by him, there was a darker section that seemed to open up, and an object came out of there. And the object made a very distinct sound. And I don't like to tell people what that sound is, because when I talk to people about this and they say, the sound, I know it's the same darn thing. The object moved off to a highway, which wasn't that far from him, where a truck was driving. It went over the truck. The lights went off on the truck, and it immediately stopped. Then it shot off, as he said, at god awful speed over the horizon and came back. It's like, and here this thing comes back up, goes into the big triangle, and it takes off slow. Then it shoots off.
We got some video on this, don't we, Sam?
Not this. This is what happened afterwards, and we're going to show that video. This guy, when he got home, he was hungry, so he was shaking, and he was hungry. He goes to the microwave, and from the plastic handle, he gets a shock that burnt a hole, and he said till this day he had the hole in his finger that burnt a hole in his thumb.
Wow.
So Tinley, now this is something that happened in and around the Tinley Park. Tinley Park was just one of many instances going on. I was working on another case up north in Fredericks, Wisconsin, at the same time. This is so much material that no one, not in our conversations can I cover it. It's just too much. But getting back to Tinley Park, and we do have a video, at least some people can get an idea what we're talking about. What appears to be three independent objects. And by the way, you're seeing white, but they're actually, what they're seeing from a distance is reddish orange or red. And the closer you get to it, you see far more detail. It seems to be every color under the sun. You'll see in some other pictures. So the closer you get, the detail changes. And that's a different subject that I could emphasize, especially with the photograph you've shown. I can tell you.
Why don't we see the videos first?
Yes, go right ahead, please.
Amanda?
Show the first one, Amanda.
I got it! I got it on tape!
Wow.
You think you got excited?
It's very exciting.
There were about 40 people out there at this party. There were people all over the place. It was a very nice evening. And so block parties were going on, a perfectly clear sky. You're able to see far more of the celestial objects than you normally see. In fact, the summer star, which some people were saying, well, that must be the summer star you were seeing. Of course, it wasn't a summer star, because this thing was moving about. We would be dead. That would mean the Earth is spinning out of orbit. So these physicals that insist on it, the so-called SK eptics, they like to come up with that, the so-called SK eptics. So that is TJ. He's filming it. Everybody left the party to get their cameras. They were so darn excited. His son told him, look over there, look at this. These are UFOs. And he goes, get out of here, Jay, leave me alone. And then he turns around and goes, "What are these things?" And his brother-in-law at the time says, "Yeah, Teach, there's something weird going on." And there was absolutely, as you could hear, nothing. There were no other planes in the air for approximately 2.5 hours. No plane. And this is Chicago. Nothing.
That's weird.
It's weird.
Do you think they ground him, Sam?
They weren't flying. Nothing was flying during that time period. And that's what scared him, because the last time is, of course, no planes that were flying. The last time they'd seen no planes in the air was 9/11. So they weren't thinking UFOs. They were thinking terrorists. They were scared. Now the children, they were thinking UFO, alien invasion, whatever, or just looking at the darn things. So this is what was going on. We had, and the first night, I think we had about 7 or more videos. And we had a mass sighting is 100 plus witnesses. We had hundreds upon hundreds of witnesses. This is a highly populated area. Plus, they were seen not just here, they were seen throughout the whole area, multiple states, multiple countries, all the way into the 24th of the month, down in Australia, Melbourne, Australia, where we have video of 2 of them.
Cool.
So, I've been in contact with the investigators there, and there is a video. I have the video of that too. So they do correlate. You can match them. You can figure out the angles as far as trigonometry. These were the same objects, and believe in Lafayette, Colorado. We had a nice sighting out there. You may remember that one. I believe it was 2010 where they have video of it. I think Doug worked on that case.
We'll have to look that one up.
Yeah, and you'll see the video and it'll match. But
Sam, you sent us another video of Tinley Park.
Yeah, that's on 10. That's October. That's the holiday. That's the New Year's. Excuse me. I'm getting my holidays all goofed up. Honey, bring me the medication. I'm talking to them fast. That was Halloween, by the way. So what we could do is show some of the pictures first, and then we'll show that video. Is that okay?
How about that one that's clearly not flares or balloons?
Yes, bring that up. So we kept on hearing, of course, the explanations. We hear all the explanations, flares on balloons, and that was the popular one by the so-called skeptics. They were bringing, it was flares on balloons. This was TJ's close-up with his camera. He had a 400 digital zoom camera, and people who were directly underneath it were seeing distinctly every color under, imaginable. Very weird. It wasn't just red. Red is the long wavelength as far as within the spectrum that we could see. So, of course, that's why we have a red light, we have yellow, and we have green, because those correspond to the wavelength that we could see, and red being the more important and being able to see it at the furthest distance. So you go to the next one, please. Now that is a different camera. That was a Super 8. So during this period of time was a transition of many different types of technologies when it came to recording into commercial market. And this gentleman was further away. He was south, looking north. He was in Frankfurt, and he's looking north. And I asked him to give me an idea of the size of it from his point of view. And that's the measurement we use, thumb to index finger. Next, please. And this was the main concentration of the individuals that I interviewed. And there were tons of them, hundreds of people. This is downtown Tinley Park. They were seeing something entirely different. They were seeing 3 illuminations in each corner. And
now, Sam, was that a different craft, or you think it was
same thing? We watched it move. I mean, we have video of it moving. So in other words, it's perspective. Say, for instance, the orange orb that you mentioned before. On the year prior to that was 2003, of course. In May of 2003, my wife and I Julie was not one who spotted it. She spotted a large orb, orange orb. When I say orange, the color, it's not orange. It's the setting sun or rising sun, that color. In fact, I had the millihertz and everything figured out exactly of the intensity. And that is a very unique thing. It was sitting perfectly static in the sky, about the size of, say, a quarter in the sky, and a 13-mile-an-hour wind that was coming from the north. And it sat there perfectly still, and there were these discharges around it, like electrical discharges, sparks. And then oozing from the bottom were smaller orbs coming out of it, exact same color. And they were just coming to the bottom. And then it took off. And as it moved, I was telling Julie, we were at a red light, I says, as it moves, tell me the colors, because I had to watch the road. And it would change the spectrum of light. And the point is motion and your perspective, where you're at, how close you are. Now, that very type of orb was seen in Tinley Park in conjunction with these other objects, the triangles. And the gentleman seen it come down, and he said it was as big as my house. He was screaming at me about no more than a foot away. He was right in my face screaming, "What is this thing? It was as big as my house." And he says the inside of it looked like a lava lamp. And it had all these other different colors into it. So it wasn't just reddish or reddish orange. There was more composition, and the features of it change. So in other words, one's perspective, we have such limited ability with our eyesight. But once you get closer, you see something different. And so many a time, you'll have, for instance, an argument with somebody standing, say, for instance, Burroughs and Pennison. They saw something different. Well, they were outside of a certain bubble, let's say. We were talking about
bubbles.
Yeah, and your perspective is going to change. And I was explaining that to Jim. I said, it's going to change. You're touching something where he's further away, and he's just seeing color and a shape. And it's always going to be an orb. I don't care what it is, its actual shape, it'll always be an orb. And at the distance. But I wanted to hit that, by the way, and tell you that. Now that's a lot. Let's see the next image, and then we'll go to the video. Now, okay, let's go to the video. This was on the 31st. That picture was the Halloween sighting, where we actually had a plane in the air, so we have something of reference. And that image of that object is very far away, and that plane is cutting in front of it by at least a mile and a half, 2 miles. But yet people thought it was cutting between the 2 points because of their perspective. And you'll see that in the video from 10:31 with the plane.
Yeah, it makes you wonder if that pilot saw it.
He did. And
he did.
He talked to Bill Burns, and it scared the heck out of him. And another gentleman seen it too, that was flying higher and coming around a different. We had aircraft that day. He was flying a G5, a Gulfstream 5, and he was a pilot in the Air Force flying C-130s, and then he became a private pilot for industry and commercial pilot, and pretty cool. 13 other people seen it while around the plane.
That's amazing.
Yeah, but if Amanda would be so kind, maybe she could play the plane video. The object was in the mountains at a very high altitude of over between 18 and 30,000 feet. And
wow.
Yeah, so I mean, and we did we have an idea of size, and we did all that. In fact, you go back to those pictures.
Was it banking or turning, Sam?
It rotates in a counterclockwise rotation.
Yeah, that was my question, because in the video, it almost looks like one side of the triangle is shorter than the other. So it must be banking. That's exactly what I was going to ask, Chris.
Yeah, see right here, it looks like they come together when your fingers are exactly the same distance. It's a matter of perspective and stuff.
Yeah.
So that's all it is. And I've watched this stuff for hours and hours and hours, playing it forward and backwards. And then We had Terrence Manson analyze it. We had a bunch of people analyze it. We all agree.
Were there ever any orbs seen coming out of that one?
Yes.
And what do you think those are? The things that are dropping out of it. What do you suspect those are?
I think it was very much like the gentleman in Rib Mountain. That's why he was explaining that things come out of it. Well, a police officer from Tinley Park, he came over. We met, and his sergeant told him that he was seeing things coming in and out of it. And then we have another set of footage that isn't so distinct. It takes a lot of work to analyze it, but there are things coming in and out of it. You can see it on that set of video. So in other words, that doesn't fall in line with flares on balloons and Chinese sky lanterns or all these other things.
Do you think those could possibly be like scouting drones coming out of the craft, or what do you suspect that is?
Oh, that's speculation. I mean,
Yeah.
but yeah, it could. I would say, yeah, it would probably be something along the line of smaller objects such as discs, or things that are the proverbial tic tac type shape, or who knows.
Right.
I really don't like using things like that. That's like flying saucer. I'd rather go with a geometric shape or something. But you know what I'm saying.
Right.
So, do you guys think this could be any of our technologies that we just don't know about yet? And having the drones, because I know it was going slow, but doesn't the military have things that we don't know about, or there's so many decades ahead of us with some of the technology?
Yes, but that's the thing here is when I'm looking at a case and investigating, I'm not even speculating where it's from. Is it unconventional? That's the most important thing. Yes, it is. Nice. Is it advanced? Yes. This thing was known to hyperleap. It'd be at one spot and then a hyperleap move to another spot. And we don't, that isn't conventional technology. The ability to hover. We have a list of things there that was going on at the same time, things that were correlates to what was going on. Say, for instance, affecting radio communication on Nextel phones, the walkie-talkies. That wasn't working. And if they were getting any communication, they were getting chattered. It didn't even seem to be English. It was something else. And, the fact that we had no planes in the air, that on the August night, it did disrupt air traffic. And F-18s were seen on one night. I think that was F-18s on one night. I think we had F-16s on another night that were seen. A helicopter was sent up to shepherd planes from the area on the 31st. We also had the same disturbances on the phones with the Nextel and some other communication issues. There were other problems. Wow. Coyotes were reacting and dogs were reacting before these objects showing up.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
There was, there's a list of things that I have there related to this. There were other objects seen. There was on the 31st, there was a horseshoe-shaped object with a boom and a spherical attachment that was seen further southeast of it. And the gentleman that had seen this got out of his truck, called his daughter, who was 5 miles north of there. And she goes, "No, the object's straight ahead of me." She was looking at the triangular object that was in front of her, maybe about 2 miles away, while he was seeing something further would be to her left and about 5 miles away. So there were multiple objects seen during this period of time. And on the 21st, and here's some idea of some of the objects. Again, going back to Marler's case and the Southern Illinois case, this was, one of these objects was exactly the same. There is a characteristic in its motion. When it moved, it flipped, and the same thing happened in Tinley Park. And we know this because we have video now that came from Nancy Carpenter down in Southern Illinois, and it shows a unique characteristic, a flipping over, an arcing that was at ridiculous speeds. And the same thing transpired here and was seen by multiple people. One gentleman was an attorney who is a superb witness, and a amateur astronomer, but I say that lightly. He's very good with astronomy, and he's seen that. And he says, "I've never seen anything like that happen before." It was in one spot, and then it arced all the way over. And the same thing was recorded on video, and part of, you could see it on, I think it was the second episode or third episode of season 2 UFO Hunters.
Sam, do you think, was there any noise to these objects? None whatsoever.
No noise.
Did you
could hear the
chance
crickets. Yeah, you could hear crickets.
Did you get a chance to interview the pilot? I mean, he probably.
I didn't. Bill did. Bill Byrne.
Was there anything that struck you funny what the pilot said or anything of that nature?
Yeah, it scared the heck out of him. It was huge.
I mean, by the size of that, it was bigger than a house. So whoever said that it was bigger than a house, he was mistaken. That thing probably the size of a football field.
He was just talking about the orbs. There were orbs seen too. In other words, on the 31st, there were 3 types of objects: the massive orbs, the orange orbs, the large isosceles triangular object, a horseshoe-shaped object with a boom, and a spherical object on top. And you have these 3 objects being seen. There may have been more. The other thing is there was another object that shows up, another triangular object that shows up about 15 minutes afterwards. And the same thing happened on the 21st of August. So now mind you, I'm talking about October the 31st of 2004. What happens, 2004. What happens November the 14th in California on November the 14th with the Nimitz?
Ah, right.
And when did they say they started to paint them on the radar?
It's the 10th, I think.
The first time I heard him talk about it, he said 2 weeks ahead of time.
Wow.
Ah.
Wow.
Comprende?
They were connection.
Yeah.
Interesting.
The other thing was in 2004, we had a tremendous amount of unusual Earth activities, which comes at the end of a series of unusual solar activities in 2003. We had an extended period of solar activity and CMEs. So you have all this energy built up in the Earth too. So the Earth is responding to a lot of weird stuff. So we had all these. We had the 13 hurricanes. The first started right before the first sighting in Tinley Park. Actually, there was a sighting 2 days prior, a mass sighting in Minneapolis, St. Paul. A large object was sitting in the sky perfectly still, and everybody was freaked by this thing sitting there in the sky over Minneapolis, St. Paul for a period of 9 hours in the sky at about 30 plus. It was over 30,000 feet because planes were coming in. And it sat there, and then it was seen the object was seen and recorded much lower in Arizona. In fact, that is one of the most remarkable sets of video you'll ever see.
Yeah.
And you can see that online.
I'm so glad, Sam, that you are making these correlations to magnetism and the Earth and solar flares and that. I think it was James Keenan that we had on our show that was talking about these 11-year cycles that correlated with the how close the sun is to the Earth and the solar flares and whatnot, and the magnetism of the Earth. So I love that you're doing that and correlating those together. So I mean, what is the conclusion of Tinley Park? Where does it stand now? I mean, to me, it's as big as the Phoenix Lights, right? You're talking, multiple craft, hundreds of witnesses in that. Where does it stand right now? Is it still being investigated? What's happening now?
It's an open case, and we're still doing work on it. Done a few more documentaries. I want to do my documentary. In other words, I want to have more material, not just a bunch of B-roll. And I do want to throw in the correlates. I think it's very important to understand that cause and effect here. That there are other things that may be associated one way or another. One thing that I did discover through investigating these type of craft in particular is there is absolutely some sort of signature as far as weather-wise, and that's very important. A very good discovey, I think.
Yeah.
So,
Is there a book about this incident?
Sam's 5
recommend?
books are in his head. You know, he's starting. Hopes he gets them dead before. You know, everybody. There's like I don't know how many people bugging me. When are you going to be done? I had one guy. He'll pay me on a chapter. Come on, get moving. So it's very slow, but eventually we'll get it done.
Sam, I want to take you to another investigation you did that's pretty famous, and you did a tremendous amount of work on this one. Chicago Airport.
Yep.
O'Hare. Why don't you start right from the beginning and tell us all about that incident? Because that was seen by many of the aviation people working at the airport.
Yeah, that was a mass sighting, but people don't want to put it into that content. I don't know why. There were so many people that did see it, and this went on for about 20 minutes. It was about 4:20 or so in the afternoon on the 7th of November of 2006. And on gate C-17, which is a concourse there, concourse C, there was a plane that was getting ready to be backed out, go to, I believe it was North Carolina. I forget the flight number. But anyways, the pilot is in there and the co-pilot, and they're getting everything ready. All of a sudden, a ramp rat who is working on the ramp, that's what they call them, ramp rats. I don't know, a gentleman there. Sees this object above the gate C-17, right above them. And the ceiling was at about, if I recall, it was 1,900 feet, and we feel that was somewhere around 450 feet below it. And I've spoke to 4 witnesses, and where they observed it, you know. And then I have people who were at that time relaying with other people. In other words, other people had seen it and they're relaying. So in other words, I spoke to about 6 people, but 4 actually seen it. And so he called, because this object's not supposed to be there. It's Class B airspace. It's restricted. So he called his manager, and he was concerned. The manager called the tower and said, we got an object here. And the tower was supposedly unable to see it, the ATC. And it's a possibility because there's an overhang. And considering where it was at and the height and everything, there's an overhang on like an eave that hangs over on the tower, and that may have been what caused them from not able to see.
Yeah, but wasn't this object close to the tower?
No, it was by gate C-17. That would have been, for them, it would have been difficult to see. It would have been blocking it. But they asking flights to come in to be aware of it, and that's recorded. You could hear that. In fact, Steve Greenstreet has it recently put it up, and he also has my recording. I should have had that for you of my witness that was recorded. I recorded that interview, and she was coming down LaGrange Road, Mannheim Road, and she was with her friend who was from Bulgaria, and she was meeting a friend that was coming in who was an American Airlines pilot coming in from overseas. He was an international pilot, and he was flying in on UAL. So she's coming down the road. The both of them seen that object in the sky when they were coming into the international concourse. Now, the funny thing is, she has a background in military aircraft and understanding military aircraft. She was a military brat. Her father was a retired captain in charge of a air wing, a helicopter air wing in the Navy. So she knew pretty much everything that flew. She went to all the aviation events and whatever. She loved it. And she was also a reporter out of Washington, D.C., but currently she was a teacher. So she knows how to observe. She knows how to analyze. And they pulled over the international concourse, and they were looking at it through a pair of reading glasses to get a better idea of clarity. And she was she was actually thinking, what is the composition? So in other words, the manner of evaluation went to the point of even what is it composed of? I found that really interesting. She's seen it moving in a counterclockwise. It seemed to be moving in a counterclockwise rotation, and there were a bunch of people watching it. She got there. There were many groups of people watching, photographing, and videotaping. So then all of a sudden it tilted. She said it tilted at a very sharp angle, and in an instant shot through the ceiling of clouds. It was 6,000 feet thick, and it left a gaping blue hole instantaneously. Now, to do that, it takes a lot of energy to displace that much humidity, and that's why I showed that other picture before, where that object was going through, and you could see where it's displacement and discoloration. So that's why I showed it. And also the shape, that shape was relatively similar to what is in the photograph that we had analyzed some photographs, and thanks to Mark Allen from who gave me permission to use that photo. If you probably pull that one up from there, it's one of the photos, and you can see the actual image. Now that was one of the photos that we feel is genuine, but we can't use it as evidence because we don't have a chain of custody. If we don't have a chain of custody and we don't have the original details, we can't use it as evidence. On the other hand, it's a darn good illustration, and my witness says, yes, that was it. And as you can see with this, it looks relatively similar. You go to the next one, and it has relatively that same shape, and then, of course, the displacement. That's why I did correlations and similarities. Is it correlation or coincidence? In other words, we need to start putting these dots together. If we don't, we're missing every aspect of what we're supposed to do as investigation's one thing, but research and composition, put it all together into some sort of logical, is there something there?
Right.
Better way to do it, like a puzzle.
Yeah.
It's also interesting. Well, not to change the subject because we're running out of time, but I want to kind of change the subject and ask you about something that was mentioned a little bit earlier, Sam, and that's the Chicago Mothman saga.
I knew where you were going.
We got to hear about that. What can you tell us about that?
Well, the first report came in. It is so distorted. I will have this done, and it will be done relatively soon. Hopefully before fall next year, I'll have this together. I've been in a few other projects, but the first report actually came in on October the 13th of 2011, and it was a MUFON report. That person took a picture at 63rd and Pulaski, a location known for the large Native American statue. And the reason why is that statue, if you look at the right angle, the left thumb appears to be something other than the thumb by the, let's say, the lower section or the midsection of that Native American. So he wanted to take a picture of it. The guy who filled out the report, and in taking that picture, he noticed something truly unusual. There was something in there that he didn't notice. It was in the sky, and he looked at it, and it had a weird shape, and he says, well, it's in the sky. It appears to be flying. It appears to be an object, so I'm going to submit this report to MUFON. And that's what he did. He gave us his name, everything, birth dates, and he was very cooperative, put it that way. But the picture was everything. So I have done that photo. I've analyzed so much, it's ridiculous. But not only did I identify the fact that it was not a cryptid, but strangely enough, that story took legs. It had its own legs. And two other reports came in, one being supposedly from a young lady that submitted a report to another site. In fact, that a lot of these came from that site. And the narrative sounds like a B movie. It's like a creative writing story. And it's pretty interesting when you start reading all this, and you learn different avenues of evaluating narratives. You learn about style metrics and the forensic of words and laying stuff out. You learn a lot. And this story had so many holes in it, but it came out the very same day, just a matter of a few hours later, after this was posted on UFO Stalker. So in other words, that story came out. Then this was like a supportive story of them seeing this creature with these large red eyes in the window, okay? And this was also during the period of time that the Mothman Festival had just gotten over, okay? And this would have been the 10-year anniversary for the Mothman Festival in Point Pleasant. Also, a movie that just came out on Netflix, which is Eyes of the Mothman. The two red eyes. So all this is, there's so many correlations, it's remarkable. You'll laugh. But it's interesting because there's another thing, there's an undercurrent of the unusual. These Keel-S type synchronicities were also laid in there, and that's the other part of the story. And I could give you a presentation on that privately that I think will put chills up your spine.
Wow.
Ooh.
Well,
So-
why are you going to do it privately? Go for it right now. I want to scare the hell out of the audience.
Yeah, I think this would be a special and a half. The detail and the research would blow your mind. The social psychology involved in this is very impressive. One other thing we found out was in 2017 that story died after 3 reports. There was another report the next day to that other reporting center where a gentleman from Tasmania seen what an object looking like a what was the term? Oh gosh, not a flying squirrel. What is it? Sugar glider. It reminded me of a sugar glider that we see down in my home country, and all this stuff going on. That it was just so weird. But what's interesting, it stopped then. And that would have been October the 14th, October the 13th, October the 14th. And the correlations is dates and the numbers that line up that do correlate with some commonality with the number 13, which is very prominent number when it comes to the real Point Pleasant incident, as you may recall. Do you know much about Point Pleasant?
Not too much.
No, but I think you're going to tell us, aren't you?
Yeah,
a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, the first renowned sighting or known sighting, and the bridge collapse, of course, you remember hearing about the bridge collapse. There's a span of either 39 or 13 or derivatives thereof. And so you have all these correlations. And then you have what's called mirror images, mirror letters and mirror things, such as 13 and 31 are mirrored numbers. And they have each one has their own significance. And the funny thing, or the very horrible thing, is the bridge collapsed 13 months to the day since the first sighting of the so-called real Mothman in Point Pleasant that it made, where it was 13 months the day. 31 cars went in, 46
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awful.
Yeah. And 46 people died. Yeah.
Wow. So this kind of had, I mean, the Mothman is just like seen. I know you don't like polarities, good and evil and bad, but I mean, this sounds pretty evil in my opinion. And do these Mothman sightings correlate with any like orb sightings, UFO sightings, any other phenomenon?
Prior to this, UFO activity was going off the chart in 1966, not just in Point Pleasant, in Ohio, and of course in 66 and 67 in Michigan. We had the swamp gas sighting known, of course, in the Dexter and Ann Arbor area at Hillsdale College, with 89 students seeing it, plus a couple of police officers and other folks. So there was a good possibility of over 90 people actually seeing the UFO there. And then, of course, Mr. Frank Manor had that object land in his field or close to landing in his field. And J. Allen Hynek was there. So that was in 66. And there was UFO activity in the Ohio Valley. And, of course, Point Pleasant is part of that area. So there was ongoing UFO sightings in and around the areas in Point Pleasant and other communities. So yes, there was UFO sightings correlating with this sighting of this so-called, actually it was referred to as the bird. They referred to it as the bird. Yeah, the Mothman came about after, they started to get a better idea of what it looked like and noticing that a leathery type of wings were there. That, the bat thing, Batman already came out and was becoming popular. So they didn't want to use that. They came up with moth. There was some, the features in one of the drawings, so the shape of it. So, I mean,
yeah.
It's amazing this, how we interpret things, and I really enjoy that.
Yeah.
Sam, do you think Mothman and Bigfoot, do you think they're alien species put here? Has Mothman ever been around a flying saucer, a UFO?
Well, yes, during the periods of time, that's this being, and in addition to other cryptids or beings that were seen during that time. Again, this is more so mythology because we don't have any evidence to the effect. But it's interesting that these people were seeing that, where we have documented UFO sightings because there was good photographs taken there a period of time in that area.
Wow.
So in other words, so what happens is you have one story that kind of dilutes the prior, which was the massive UFO sightings in the area. And considering the fact that it's relatively close to some sensitive areas, we have green banks up there and other listening posts. In addition to, at that time, there were still some ammunition manufacturers in the area and chemical companies, etc. So in other words, there were sensitive areas that there was areas of there was this concern. The military was there, FBI was there, people were being investigated, their stories were being taken. They were telling their stories. Unlike here in Chicago, all these people seem to disappear or be fictitious. And that's the other thing. The other report that we received through MUFON had absolutely no legitimate contact information. And we found out by tracing the let's just say the sources of these things, that they all seem to correlate to the same origin. At least 2 instances, and the odds are like billions to one.
Right.
Incredible.
Wow. Sam, we're again almost out of time, but before we do, maybe one more of your interesting stories that you can tell us about the Lake Cook car incident. What can you tell us about that?
Lake Cook car incidents was another November issue. I think it was November. This is strange, but I think it was November the 8th. And November the 8th, I think it was November the 8th, I had gotten a call from Peter Davenport. By the way, the O'Hare case, Peter Davenport, and strangely enough, Tinley Park, Peter Davenport and the Lake Cook car. Some of the best cases I ever worked on were from police, Peter Davenport, the best ones. So he gave me a call and mentioned that a lady had called and mentioned that her daughter had some unusual event. Her car was struck by something, but she couldn't see it. She was very concerned that there was something satanic, whatever they want to call it, having to do with the devil, involved in this. And I'm like, great. Well, how do they call it? It's like, great. Would I have to go out there as an exorcist or what? But anyways, she showed me the pictures. The pictures were up. In fact, you could see it. In fact, it became, at the request of Roger Marsh, it became a MUFON case, and it was incorporated into Hangar 1. I wasn't involved in it, of course, because I'm not pretty anymore. But that was my case, and some of that is accurate. Not much, but some of it.
Not much. Those dang shows.
So unfortunately, but I got in contact with her, and we went there, seen the car, and the whole side of the car looked as if you were to take a beer can and suck the air out of it and have it crumple up, that's how it looked. There was absolutely no transfer where you'd see, like, for instance, if a deer hit it, because this was during the rut and it was in an area that you would, right by Deerfield. We have deer up there.
Right.
And there was a dead deer found further away, but didn't really match the scenario. So we had to look at a lot of different things. And I had taken samples. And which I took her account. And her account was this: she worked at the mall over there. In the evening, she got in her car. She had put the radio on. She gets on the street, takes a right-hand turn, and all of a sudden, she goes to adjust the radio, and the car. She hears a bump. She looks in the mirror. She thought it was in back of her, and she notices her whole car had just been moved over to the center, moved over one lane.
Whoa.
And she looks in her side mirror and it's gone. And so she pulls over on the next street, gets out of the car, and the whole car is indented.
Jeez.
The mirror is hanging by the two remote, the positive and negative, actually three, and a ground, 3 wires holding it. And she picks up the mirror, and in the back of the mirror is gone. It's all gone. It just broken to pieces. And the glass itself, not a scratch on the mirror.
Weird.
So, very strange. She calls the police. They come over there, and the police officer's looking up and down. And he goes, who hit you? She goes, nobody. There was nobody here. And she goes, somebody had to hit you. And he sees the mirror. He takes the mirror and folds it back and goes to the A-pillar of the car. Your A-pillar is what's holding your windshield. It is also the strongest part of your car because the A-pillar and B-pillar, D and C, those are your roll cage. Those are important roll cage.
Yes.
And he picks it up and he flips it over and it fits right into an indentation. And I have the video and copy of all that and the detail. And it fits right into it. It flipped over. And how do you make plastic more powerful than metal? The only way to do that is to increase mass. And the only way to increase mass is velocity. So something whacked it so fast and spinned it over and hit it, yet did not damage the mirror.
Wow.
How did that happen?
It doesn't. But it did.
It did.
Yes.
So I had samples of the paint because the paint had a luster. The luster was gone. So I had samples taken and gave that to a university to examine, and those disappeared. When I went to retrieve the side of the car, which I was given permission to have from the body shop, I got there and the guy said, yeah, you come here, pick it up. It took some time because he was out of town. He was somewhere, so I don't know where it was. But when he came back, he said, yeah, you come pick this up. It's back here. I went there and he went to the back of the room and he came back with a look on his face and I go, don't tell me. He goes, yep, it's gone. Somebody came
no.
Somebody came here, said it was you, and they took it.
Oh, wow. Gosh, I hate when that happens. Man.
Oh, yeah.
Sam,
That's a lot.
I tell you, you have done some impressive work through the years and worked some incredible cases. And oh my goodness, it's fascinating stuff. Thank you so much for doing that and get writing those books. We need this
Please.
out there. So yeah, it's been
Some
such a
Dragon software.
pleasure. Yeah, it's been such a pleasure having you on the show. What's up next for Sam? Do you have anything going on? Will you be at the MUFON Symposium in August?
I will
Great.
be at the MUFON Symposium in August, God willing.
Yep. Awesome. Okay. I want to thank Chris, Jerry, and Jenna. Jerry and Jenna just constantly hanging out, absorbing all this information up there, chilling. Tara, thank you so much. Amanda, our producer, thank you so much. You do awesome work there on the back end. And thank you to Bill Skywatcher. And thank you so much to all our listeners for being here with us. And I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your week. And we will see you guys all next Tuesday night to see what's up. Keep looking up at the sky. Our numbers are low. People are inside in the, staying warm. So get outside and look up at the sky.
Yeah, get outside and freeze your ass off.
Get outside and freeze your butt
Don't
off.
do it.
Well, as you just heard from Sam, when we're a lot of these big, huge cases are in October, in November. What is that? I love that, Anyway, see you next week, everybody. Take care. Bye.